If I could describe my life before Christ in one word, it would probably be darkness. I don't know, a lot of confusion. And at a young age, I guess, things kind of got crazy. Just things that you probably wouldn't normally go through. I mean, there's divorce everywhere, but my parents got divorced. And that kind of started a whirlwind. My father was not a Christian and my mother was. So in my mother's home, we went to church and we prayed and we had wonderful dinners that we would talk about God. And then at my father's, it was pretty dark. I learned what pornography was at the ripe age of 7. It was just girlfriend after girlfriend, and I mean, I do love my dad now, but it was hard growing up and kind of not knowing what was right and wrong. It was just drinking and partying and craziness that we were exposed to as kids. And then throughout life, I kind of just knew of God, but didn't really understand Him. So if I could describe it, I felt like I was living in like just a dark cloud. And I just decided to rebel. And at that point, I got into drinking at a young age, smoked weed, I partied, and just it was fun. And I didn't have any consequences. Fast forward through life, I just continued that. I didn't have respect for myself. I think I was just always really angry. I had this new father figure in my life who was awesome. And he was great, and life went on. He became like my dad. When my mom was on a trip in Israel, actually in Jerusalem, she was gone for a couple weeks, and my stepfather decided to do some things that were just not what a father should do. That made me angry with God, and it made that dark cloud just get bigger. And so before God, I just was angry. I was just in darkness. I gave my heart to the Lord 2 years ago. I was probably at the lowest I had ever been. I was just so angry with life. I was so angry with the card I was dealt. I was angry with God, really. And I think 2 years ago, I had attended Harvest. There was a pastor from Vegas, Vance Pittman, and he was visiting, and he gave this wonderful sermon. And honestly, to this day, I wish I could remember it fully. But it was so great because at the end, Robbie came up and just asked, does anyone want to give their heart over to God? And one thing he said was, is anyone ready to just lay it down? Just lay down all of the pain and all of the things that you're holding on to that are holding you captive. And in that moment, I didn't even feel anything. I just remember it was like I was sitting there, and he said, if anyone wants to give their heart to the Lord, then feel free to come to the front. And I don't even remember thinking, I don't even remember feeling. All I felt was this like lift, and I just felt lifted, and I just walked to the front of the church, which is something I would never normally do, especially because I was only been going there for a couple months, and I had been going through the worst depression in those couple of months and the anxiety. So that moment of I stood up and I walked to the front, and all of a sudden I was on my knees, and I just remember it was like a light like coming down, and it was just a feeling of peace. And it's like the hopeless and the darkness just kind of faded away, and it was really beautiful. And in that moment, I knew that I was forgiven for the mistakes in the life that I lived before Him. And in that moment, it was as if my anxiety and my depression just melted away. And I just remember sitting there, and it was like a light. I just felt this peace and this beauty that I had never felt before, and I felt as if I was just new. It was in that moment that I felt 10 times lighter, and I knew that I was home. God has become a part of my day. Like, before I was like, God, just, you know, I know you're there, but I don't want to deal with you. And now he's what I wake up with. He's what I live and breathe. He's now my everything. I had to grow up at a young age. I had to grow up fast. And at that point, I got to really become independent and do everything on my own. So for me now, giving everything to God and relying on Him to get through my day was so hard. And it's something that I've had to learn to do, but now I couldn't get through the day without Him.
Do you love Him?
Of course. He's my everything. He's my Father. And I didn't necessarily get good ones here, but I got them